analog horror, one of the internet's most popular genres of horror, a concept that has frightened us for many years, well, at least in our prime, you know what I'm saying? You know, the So listen, has analog horror really fallen off? Is it really ruined? Is it worth watching nowadays? Now before we get started, let's get into the origin and the popularity of analog horror. As many of you already know, or you should know, analog horror has started a long time ago, like in 2006.
Damn!
The very first one was the Wyoming incident. Has a very deep lore that I will not get into this video, but you can obviously check it out for yourself. It's kind of like the MTV event that happened a long time ago in the 80s. The Wyoming incident is similar to like creepypastas or the YouTube rabbit hole. If you watch this tape, something strange will happen to you. You get a whole bunch of side effects, a whole bunch of rigmarole. Basically, it's kind of like The Ring, but its younger cousin, if you know what I'm talking about. Analog horror has branched off into many different things like EAS, TV hijackings, found footages, animations, especially the super weird ones. The list can go on. While analog horror is already at its high, or during that time it was at its high, what I really think what brought it to a greater light was Corey Kenshin's Spooky Scary Sundays. You know, where he...
Spooky Scary Sunday is a show where every Sunday... Should I take that line out? The samurai get together and we have a grand time. We sit back and we watch some scary videos sent in by you guys via Twitter using the hashtag Spooky Scary Sunday.
And that right there is where I see an amazing jump inside of analog horror. And like his popularity just went crazy. Whole bunch of content, all types of stuff.
The video is still playing.
The popularity of analog horror, well, of course, it's gonna have its downsides. Like a whole bunch of people is gonna make their own types of analog horrors, look at other people's analog horrors, and then they twist it into their own weird, uncreative way, unfortunately. But I mean, hey bruh, it's the internet. So what you gonna expect, you feel me? The peak of analog horror, well, what I think, was 2018 and 2020. I mean, brother, you just had to be there. It was kinda like the 2015 Carolina Panthers, the 2016 Carolina Panthers. Something great gotta come to an end, right? Now, of course, with analog horror going mainstream, it's gonna be merch, there's gonna be a whole bunch of good things. But, you know, when something goes mainstream, there's also a lot of bad things. Cheap jump scares. Stories that just don't make sense. People just come up with because the other people's content helped them. All I gotta say is there's a lot of bad things. And what's worse is when it be aimed towards children, bro. No offense to my younger audience. But, I mean, look at Marvel, bro. Look at the scary movies nowadays. It sucks. All that right there has definitely tarnished the reputation of analog horror from its creepy and its realistic vibe that it had. And please do not get me started on the shock value. The overdoneness on the shock value, bro. That's just crazy. Now, since this is the internet, of course, things are gonna get oversaturated and repetitive. Ooh, I finally said that word right. And you know, the creators making low quality content. So that hurts the viewers, man. You know what I'm saying? Now it's really hard. It's really rare to find that analog horror that really just satisfies you. And then when you do come across one of the good analog horrors, it's by a very underrated, a very slept on channel that deserves a lot more views. Now, if you're like me, a fan of analog horror, you're gonna be there regardless, in its highs and in its lows. It's kind of like liking a certain artist. For example, you like that artist for years, they make good music, then all of a sudden they just started dropping the same music over and over and over again. So, you know, it's kind of like that. Now, analog horror is super easy to make. All you need is a blue background, an old video tutorial, text-to-speech, and a decent editing software. Boom! Young Hollywood. The position that analog horror is kind of like comedy, basically. You hear the same joke over and over and over again. It gets terrible, it gets watered down, it's not funny. You want to hear something new. There's no creativity inside that joke. Kind of like horror movies in Hollywood with the paranormal. You got movies like The Exorcist, Conjuring, Amityville House, The Poltergeist. Something that's so supernatural and terrifying that is probably the closest thing to us ever. Now has been watered down with the cheap scares and the same storyline over and over again. I mean, shoot, bro, you get lucky to get a hug from Playboy Cardi before you find yourself a good horror movie. Just like with analog horror, it's the same format with something getting corrupted and boom, scene. Like bro, there's really a scarce in creativity with analog horror. And truth be told, let's be real y'all, we fell for it. I mean, come on now, can you really blame us as viewers? Of course we're gonna look at it. Now, is it really ruined? Has it really fallen off? Not yet, at least in my opinion. Analog horror still have hits and hits and hits, brother. Something that has a great repetition just because they have a few misses doesn't truly mean that it's bad. I mean, come on, it's made by human creators, okay? So humans ain't perfect. It's gonna be misses. It's like if your favorite artists have a stack of good songs and they drop a few bad songs, doesn't truly necessarily mean that they're bad. They probably was just experimenting. But you know, don't get me wrong, it can be very disappointing when you're searching for analog horror for 20-30 minutes, but you finally come across a promising analog horror. You watch it and boom, it's just the same analog horror, bro. So that can be very disappointing and have you come up with second thoughts about the whole genre itself. The recent popularity in analog horror has been quite hilarious. It's kind of like when a celebrity put on the most basic shoes, says one good thing about them shoes, then everybody flock right towards those shoes, and now all of a sudden, it's the best shoes in the world. Now, if you're an early Gen Z just like me, where we grew up with the little low quality cameras, 360p up to 720p max, before HD now, before HD, and millennials as well, seeing that type of stuff is kind of cool. Put it into horror. It gives a nice nostalgia trip in the most weird way possible, horrifying way too. Now for the Gen Alphas, I don't really know. They see something low quality and it's funny, so I don't really know. I showed my little brothers with analog horror and he just don't care. He just don't care about it, which, you know, hey, everybody got their different opinions. Now I ain't gonna be on here just bashing analog horror. Now half of my channel has analog horror on it that I have reacted to, and I can say I have indeed ran into some good analog horror series. My personal favorite is The Imposter and The Uncanny Valley to the analog horrors. Something about that just gives me chills, man. It's like you just see something that looks like a human or that looks like you, and that's already weird enough, but you can't really tell if it's a human. There's something very odd, something very strange about it. The uncertainty and the most uneasiness about this, it just gives me chills, bro. I love it. It's hard to get away from it. Whatever it is, it's hard to kill it. And what gets me the most with it, how close of reality that can really happen. I mean, bro, can you really blame me for thinking that? Because look at all the crazy things in this world, bro. And that's what I think that analog horror is also lacking in too, the realism with it, along with the creativity. Nowadays, people make an analog horror that's definitely don't seem real, like at all. Like, come on now, a Legend of Zelda one? Really, bro? And I ain't talking about the Ben Drowned Legend of Zelda. I'm talking about something that's actually happening in the world of Legend of Zelda. I feel like me personally, I feel like it just hit closer to home if it was more realistic. So much analog horror out here just got nothing but boos and ahs, just straight jump scares and forced shock value. Nothing really interesting. But I mean, really, it's up to the viewer, because some people can be easily impressed, some people can be easily scared, some people not. It's really just up to you, my boy. But since I already told you my piece, what do you think about analog horror? Do you think, has it really fallen off? Is it ruined? Or do you really care about analog horror? You give me your opinion since I already did mine. And with that being said, this is my very first video essay that I have done, y'all. So I really hope that y'all enjoyed it. Y'all give me some tips and tricks of what I can do better in my future videos, because as you can see, I'm still very new to this. Y'all stay safe, y'all stay blessed, and please stay cozy. Keep God in your life. Cozy Jones out. Love, peace, and chicken grease.